How was the Antler experience?
Yeah, I really think the Antler experience was helping my startup journey a lot.
Mhm.
Pre-Antler, I founded another company before, an e-commerce company. We sold 3 million products, face masks to 30 countries.
Mhm.
But it was a tough journey because I was alone. I was a solo founder, and I realized how hard it is to find a
Yep.
co-founder like that works really well with you or that clicks with. It's very important that you're entering a marriage, so personality, also the way you work and what the view you share of the
Mhm.
company, how to solve conflicts. All these are almost major things that you need to have as a good co-founder so you can ride through ups and downs together.
Mhm.
And I think Antler has been a great platform to actually meet so many minded people in the same stage, wanted to do something that changed the world, someone who's willing to take the risk right now. And and I found my co-founder there. And at the same time, I think Antler has been helping us with fundraising journey. And also we have so much help also in recruitment, vetting people because they have a huge network.
Mhm. The following is a conversation with Teeny Fung, CEO and co founder at Hypertype. Hypertype integrates your company data from different sources and creates knowledge from a sea of data and retrieves and drafts emails with the best relevant answers. Email is just the start, and they're on a mission to build a living brain for your company. They are calling it the hyperbrain. In our conversation, we talk about challenges with using unstructured data and technical company data for better business insights, the early journey and being part of an accelerator Antler, having a unique value proposition in the crowded AI landscape, prioritizing user feedback to guide the expansion of product features, conflict resolution and better understanding between co founders, and more. Hi, Teeny. Thanks for joining me on the podcast today. I really appreciate it. What inspired you to create Hypertype? What kind of problem you were trying to solve originally?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for having me. So, what we are trying to solve in Hypertype is we see tons of information that we're storing in so many tools. And today, there are 30 different tools that companies are using just to reply to the customers. So, the information can be in different format, can be in sitting in your documents, your email history, your CRM system, but we're still manually searching for that data or extracting for those data. It takes a lot of time just to write a quality response, an informative response. And in this case, I used to work with e-commerce, and also I was in investment banking. And any career, I was still searching for information just to respond to
Mhm.
people. And today it is very inefficient, and so we really want to change this and make data accessible anywhere, anytime you need it. Yeah, so this is what we want to change.
Nice. And so you guys started way before like OpenAI was a thing, I believe. How challenging was it to start back then, and what changed post their arrival?
Yeah, it's a really great question. Before OpenAI, we were using something called BERT.
Mhm.
At the start of Hypertype, we are about retrieving information, the right information at the right time. And so we are very into getting the accurate information from unstructured
Mhm.
data. So we do need a language model that is quite big in order to understand the language itself, and therefore understanding the context of any company specific question or answers, needs to understand the products that you're selling a product to a specific kind of customers and not personal questions.
Mhm.
So in this case, it's like we were using language model, but it was not the large language model. And when OpenAI came, it was more that it has a few hundred billion data instead of millions.
Mhm.
So it's a much bigger language model, which means it's just more fluent language, that it understand more context. But in terms of company specific context, it is still GPT today still struggle to understand very niche or company specific, very company type of question, because it's trained on internet data,
Mhm.
right? So all the internet data is can be very generic and not towards your products and services. So in Hypertype, we're still trying to move the curve forward to understand better of how the AI should understand the products and services of your company, and therefore becoming more domain specific rather than GPT
Mhm.
today alone is still very generic.
Cool. So post the OpenAI launch, there must have been a lot of heat in terms of companies jumping in to do this fine tuning models with corporate data and whatnot. How do you differentiate as a product with those startups that are popping up?
So company data, we today in Hypertype, we sync and ingest, transform, embed all of the data that you have connected.
Mhm.
So we built it in a way that is super easy for anyone just to do a one-click connect, and we can sync the data. So this is the first step to do, which we didn't see a lot of companies doing, except maybe Google within Google Stack, or Microsoft Copilot within their stack, or I think we see maybe CRM trying to do their own thing inside their stack.
Mhm.
But the whole truth is that when you're communicating with customers, you have information sitting in so many different tools that you need to get access outside of these
Mhm.
systems. And we haven't seen these data being connected. It's still very much data is sitting silo in a lot of different tools. And at the same time, Hypertype can really not just fine tune, but actually retrieving all these information from so many tools while solving something called data
Mhm.
conflict, which is still a challenge in the industry in retrieval augmented generation.
Mhm.
So which means if you have a product pricing that is in Sweden versus the product pricing in Norway, AI today will still not be able to distinguish it, because the question can be the same,
Right.
right? Like the question can be, what is the pricing for the product? The AI wouldn't know if this is for Sweden or for
Mhm.
Norway. Customers can ask in so many ways about your medical products, but the answers is basically the same.
Mhm.
We still see AI still struggle sometimes to get the information
Mhm.
correctly. We're now at 80% accuracy. I would say we're very focused on getting the right information, whereas a lot of tools in the market, either they don't have the data to really get the information about your company,
Mhm.
or they get the wrong information,
Mhm.
or it's basically there's no accuracy on it. But of course, we see that hopefully we can move the industry forward into, yeah, a more intelligent AI that knows your products and services and answer the right thing.
Cool. So what's the primary use case for? So at the beginning, you said, or in our last discussion, I'm sorry, you had mentioned about the genesis of this was responding to emails. And so, what's the breadth of use case you cover today? Are you focused on being an email copilot that's hypersensitive to corporate data, or you go beyond an email copilot?
Yeah, so we only started from email because 80% of our business communications are in emails. Of course, chats are coming up, like chats are growing very fast, but it's still a small part of business communications today.
Mhm.
So we only started in emails just because we want tons of data. Like we want to know how people are asking, what they're asking. And at the same time, we built data integration towards where your information is sitting. So today we also have secured larger contract with mid-sized companies that have 300 employees with their customer support team, just to plug into Zendesk. Because for example, Zendesk has a lot of our help articles, but at the same time, like the AI would not, it's a chatbot, right? They have a chatbot, but it's still very rule based. You still have to, if this, then that, you write different scenarios by yourself. But for us is that we automatically fetch the right information for you. And then the agent, we normally go for the support agent. So the support agent verify the data, and then they maybe they personalize a little
Mhm.
bit, they hit send. So they still have, we talk to so many customer support teams, which we are focusing on this vertical because we see it's a urgent pain, and a lot of companies can really save a lot of money by just accelerating the customer communications.
Mhm.
And there, they also fetch data from their documents, from Notion, everywhere they store the information, and also email history or chats. So, not just inside the CRM system. So, we really see that data is going everywhere. It can be from your ERP system, but we shouldn't have our own brain spending time just looking for this information and then compiling them. It should be AI that does it, rank it, score what is the most relevant answers. And that's what we do. Like, it's not stale data, it's like constantly showing you the most relevant data, be it someone changed in a particular tool, can be in documents, it was updated. We sync every single second. So then basically you will always get the fresh information. Yeah, so we plan to actually increase all of our data
Mhm.
integration to the tools where customer support are using today.
Nice. And so you integrate deep. How many integrations roughly you support for a given business today?
Currently, we support 5
Mhm.
integrations. So there's email history, different formats of Excel sheet documents, and also Notion. And we also have Calendly today, but we plan to increase it by 2 to 3 folds for the upcoming year, just because we saw huge demand on it. So we're launching something called Hypertype X, which can go to any tabs
Mhm.
browser. And so if you're in Intercom browser, then you can use Hypertype to get the data from your other from where you store your information in. And we read every single page or even every single paragraph inside your document, for
Mhm.
example. So we're not just fetching the document. There are tons of tools that just like fetch document, right? Even Google is doing it, just
Mhm.
fetching the document. But we actually look inside the document and then fetch the right answers for you. So that sentence out of it's like finding a needle in a haystack.
Wow. So the platform reads a lot of data. A lot of it is text spread across the company. Some of it might be in a different language. Right now, do you only do extraction and processing on English, or are you language agnostic? How many languages do you support?
So yeah, today we are handling over, of course, 95 languages, as many like foundation models are already doing. So this language itself, it's we have customers from over 50 countries and can be French, German, anything. It's a lot of languages that we can retrieve the data. So if you're writing, for example, we have customers who have multiple markets in can be, for example, Sweden and Norway, they speak 2 different languages,
Mhm.
but everything is stored in Swedish. But it doesn't matter what language it is because our AI would just read all the context in what language the customer is having, and then find the information, no matter what language it is, and rewrite it in their own language, in the language that your customer is preferring. So it doesn't matter what language you're storing in the database, which is quite powerful today. I think this is one of the things that actually why our customers are choosing us
Mhm.
compared to many tools. You don't really get these kind of functionality cross markets, reading, retrieving, and re-ranking the data in different languages.
So maybe let's dive a little bit on the customer side. Could you share an instance where Hypertype dramatically improved the client's experience or a customer experience, just to understand in reality what's that aha moment?
Sure. So we have a customer, we are targeting small, medium-sized companies right now because they're pretty much AI
Mhm.
adopters. I think one of our top customers, they are sending 100 emails per day.
Mhm.
And it is a medical product that they're selling in obesity. So it's an application, it's a SaaS company, SaaS based company. We see that they have tons of online communications and 100 emails per day. and they have maybe three support agents that are they're scaling their team right now because they're getting so many customers asking about this new product, and this product is normally requiring quite technical information, or payment method can be very different, and it's something that the customer support teams have never really been educated about it before. So you join the company as in a new hire, right? Like you never train in obesity
Hmm.
markets. So you don't know the product in depth on your first day, or maybe it takes a long time to learn about what answer is the best answer for the customers and guide them in the right way. Because, for example, giving medical advice is quite a like giving the wrong advice is a very
Yep.
a major
Major
problem in
problem.
medical. So we were surprised even for these kind of companies that has tons of product complexity, payment, or the way that they handle customer flow is particularly require a lot of
Hmm.
information. This is where we save them. For example, if they have 5 employees, saving we can save at least 10 minutes in each per email for on average of all of our 3,000 customer users.
Hmm.
We see that you can basically save $1 million dollars per year
Wow.
just because you save 10 minutes of your per email. And send if you send 20 emails per
Hmm.
day, that's very low for customer support. They normally send 100 emails per day.
Hmm.
So then we really see we can save a lot of money. Like they don't need a huge customer support team and hire a lot of headcount. They can scale up and down with Hypertype in off peak or low peak season. So it's we see that AI is improving the whole cost savings and also productivity of the team. They become happier as well. We actually have comments saying that Hypertype is delivering high quality information at the same time make their life more fun, because it doesn't need to be so boring, right? Like answering emails, angry customers, and or these kind of yeah, customer support can be quite frustrating. Uh,
Yeah, it can be challenging. It can be challenging because yeah, customers on their happy days are happy, but on their unhappy days can be very brutal. To hear 10 minutes is a lot of time per email. Wow.
Yeah. If you think about finding information, opening all of your tabs and scrolling your 70 pages of documents, Command F, and all these takes a lot of time. Uh,
Nice. This is a traditional use case. Have you seen customers that you didn't think of, but now seem to be something that you're focusing on, or at least added to your roadmap?
one of the interesting things we see is that because we sync the email history, so we can find past historical answers in your email inbox and help you write it automatically. So not just fetching information from tools. So yeah, it's very exciting. I think the future, how we gonna move into is that we really see the brain gets, we call it the hyperbrain, where it's all the contextual database, all the data gets synced in, updated, re-ranked, and we really see that as one part. It's going to become very important asset for each company. If you're selling your company, maybe that is the most important part, because everyone's going to leave. You have employees come and go, but the hyperbrain will always accumulate all the data you
I
have.
love the
Um,
name Hyperbrain. Wow. Who came up with that?
we do. It's yeah, it's gonna be very like you can have a hyper brain of your own.
Yeah.
So and everyone can have their hyper brain portable. So maybe we won't be talking to each other anymore. It will be our hyper brain talking to each other.
I wish not. I hope not. One of the obvious questions you must be getting, especially during your sales cycle, is security. Like with a lot of these emails getting synced across employees, across teams, not just emails. I think you integrate with so many pieces of information within the company. How handle that right now?
Sure. Yeah. In the whole industry, as we mentioned before, regulation is still lagging
Mhm.
behind. But we in Hypertype really take data privacy and security very seriously on day one. So what we do is we have all the GDPR in place, and at the same time, we don't share data from one company to another. So all the data you have is stored, of course, in our cloud at the moment, But if you prefer, we can move it to private cloud. For example, bigger companies would prefer that. It's depending on the policy of your company, how secure you want it to be. And we basically work together with companies to make sure that all the data is securely stored.
The regulations are catching up, like you said, across the globe, not just Europe. People are trying to figure out, governments are trying to figure out how do they regulate, whether it's US, India, Europe. What do you see with these new regulations coming out? What do you see as an impact to one Hypertype and companies like Hypertype?
It is, I think this is going to be another industrial revolution where government will be catching up, and it's necessary for sure. I think we see Europe being the most strict region, or yeah, much more than US or anywhere in the world. It is important, but it can hinder AI innovation. This is because we do need data to improve the
Mhm.
AI. Without data, AI will just be stagnant. And there is a chance, of course, AI in the future could potentially be smarter than a human. And it is something that we can't avoid. I think this is going to come, but we do need to regulate in terms of how we handle the data. Is that necessary to be used in this way? Are we sharing data to third party users? I think this is most of the concern was, it would people misuse my data.
Mhm.
And yeah, I really see that a lot of companies are starting to step up right now, having SOC 2, having GDPR compliant, but it will be like electric vehicles and or any other innovative markets that regulations will come as technology advances.
Yeah, I guess for the best. I think, of course, we can't avoid regulations.
So there is a lot of work still to be done in AI, and hopefully we can move along together with the regulation. Um, yeah, at some point.
Yeah, you've been operating in Europe for a while. How long have you guys been around?
We've actually started in 2021 in July, so we got Antler
Ah,
investment. We started in Antler cohort number 5 in Stockholm.
nice.
So yeah, but we spend, I think one part is that we spend quite a lot of time experimenting because it was a lot to get the right data in. We struggle at first, for I think for the first half of the year, to fetch the right information when there's tons of
Mhm.
noise. Then we realized that, oh, we need to remove noise in, for example, unstructured data. For example, signatures, inline messages, or greetings. All these things impact the quality of the
Yep.
response. So we have to build, we learn over time what we need to build. At the same time, how do we get, what kind of information do we also need? And it's not just in emails. Actually, in emails, we can find similar question answers. So we form that knowledge pair for all the companies. But we learn that over the years, we do need not just email, but also other data sources to enrich what customer support really need to handle different customer scenario. And then at the same time, when OpenAI came, we saw that it's not just like OpenAI that can do the best work. And there are so many experiments. It's still a new market, and it is expensive in terms of development
Yep.
R&D. You can see that our UI is very easy to use. It looks like any other market. It's super easy for anyone to start. And this is our purpose. We want anyone to be able to start, but at the same time, it's built on top of very advanced AI infrastructure and a middleware that is syncing all of your data. And this took us a long time. So we actually launched the product last year in April,
Okay.
and we still had technical bugs for the first few months. So we only started really launching the real product last year in August. We saw that actually it's important that we push out the whole product to public. That's because we need to learn how the data react.
Yeah.
The results, it can be unpredictable
Mhm.
until you launch to the real world. So that's where we learn much faster. When we actually launch to companies, then we understand, oh, this didn't work. We have to tune it this way. We have to change the prompt. We have to do restrictive prompts. We have to make sure that it doesn't hallucinate. It shouldn't say that we don't, it should not say the answer if it doesn't know, for example. There's so many things that we need to build in place to make sure that the quality of the answers are high enough.
Yeah, and keep cooking. How was the Antler experience? Did you meet all your co-founders? How many co-founders are you?
So we are two. So Beatrice and I met in
Mhm.
Antler. So I'm more on the product AI side. I used to work in robotics
Mhm.
company, and Beatrice used to work in sales, customer support, and in iSettle. She's great in viral marketing. So she's the best salesperson also in education first, a lot of different companies. So it's been a great ride working together with her.
Nice. And so you both met at Antler.
Exactly. We also have two other founding team
Mhm.
members. Tim, who joined us from, he used to be in Swedish Defense Agency, Hiltorian, and analyzing unstructured data,
Mhm.
and also very sensitive data because it's the government as well. And we,
Yeah.
and he worked in GPT for European languages. We also have a CTO, Henry, who was the CTO of
Hmm.
Bookmax. We've been doing the applications launching Chrome extension with him all along. So it's a great team. We just complement each other in a very good way.
Nice. Sounds like a pretty well-rounded team. Yeah. So how was the Antler experience?
Yeah, I really think the Antler experience was helping my startup journey a lot.
Mhm.
Pre-Antler, I founded another company before, an e-commerce company. We sold 3 million products, face masks to 30 countries.
Mhm.
But it was a tough journey because I was alone. I was a solo founder, and I realized how hard it is to find a
Yep.
co-founder like that works really well with you or that clicks with. It's very important that you're entering a marriage, so personality, also the way you work and what the view you share of the
Mhm.
company, how to solve conflicts. All these are almost major things that you need to have as a good co-founder so you can ride through ups and downs together.
Mhm.
And I think Antler has been a great platform to actually meet so many minded people in the same stage, wanted to do something that changed the world, someone who's willing to take the risk right now. And I found my co-founder there. And at the same time, I think Antler has been helping us with fundraising journey. And also we have so much help also in recruitment, vetting people because they have a huge network.
Mhm.
So it's not just about, I think a lot of people thought about the equity, but ultimately the company is nothing if you only have hold all of the equity yourself. But Antler has been really worth it just to get the company started. That's the hardest part.
Yeah. Yeah, I think percent of nothing is still nothing. So did you date a few founders before this, or was it love at first sight?
I think it's very interesting because we both told ourselves if we didn't find anyone, it's fine for us. We will just do other things outside Antler.
Hmm.
So it was more fate that linked us together by a coffee machine. Everyone was having IC already. We were the only ones that didn't have a co founder. I have an idea that I really want to change, which is what Hypertype is doing today. And we met by a coffee machine, and she has been having the same pain in her whole career, and I've been in like, oh, we can use NLP to do this, to solve this. And then we just have 2 days before IC to do all the logos, the business models, the whole pitch deck. So we put everything up in 2 days.
Oh
We found also someone technical to help us at the beginning to build an MVP in
wow.
2 days, 2 weeks, not 2 days, but two
Hmm. Hmm.
weeks, just by plugging in BERT model. And then it shows the MVP how it works. It's not perfect. It was in a control environment, but we still managed to, yeah, hack everything
At
together.
least show the vision. Yeah.
Yeah, and show MVP. I think that's what investor always want to see. Does it
Hmm.
work? So yeah, pre GPT, no one believes that it can
Yeah.
work. But I knew it worked in robot. It should work in emails. It's just text. Back then, no one believes that and it's nothing sexy, right? People didn't want to do emails, productivity and stuff. That it's not nothing sexy, but it's like solving emails. But it's still a huge
It is
pain.
still a huge pain, and I think a lot of problems are if especially people who are trying to look for an idea. So many ideas that are so boring, but they're a pain. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to solve the personal pain that I have myself and also Beatrice. I think we got 10 LOI in 2 days. A letter of intent.
Oh, speak a little bit about finding a co-founder and done startups before. Uh, how do you deal with how do you deal with conflicts in the co-founding team now that you're not doing a startup alone? And how do you make sure that things can still be made?
Yeah, I think we work in a very transparent
Hmm.
way. I think that's the most important thing because it's all about trust.
Hmm.
There's so many ups and downs and sometimes you doubt each other, right? So I think it's more we don't just talk about work. We talk about personal things. I think that's important because sometimes you just talk about business and didn't care about everything else. I think my co-founder really taught me one thing. It's there's three triangle. There's like work, your personal life, and also your relationship, like with your other people. And either if either one of them didn't work out, it will impact your work
Hmm.
performance or your startup work because the company is built on top of two of us. So then it's important that we are balanced on all three. We always check with each other. Are you okay with it? Do you need help with that? And also, what is your situation here? Can I really help you? And so it's just being transparent.
Yeah, makes sense. I think you do get to spend so much time with your co-founders. It's only important that you connect, and it is like a marriage, so it can't just about work. Yeah.
Let's say she even like we were joking like she even spent more time with me than my fiance. So we do argue, it's just but it's important that we can argue because otherwise it's we can't tell each other why we're frustrated. And then if we can't do that, then we can't move on and everything will be like you stop working with each other in a way that is effective because you hold grudge on
Yeah.
something. And actually, maybe that could be resolved by just talking over, like going to a room for 1 hour and just shout, talk, and cry, whatever you do, and just tell each other your feelings. Why do you, what's happening? What is your perspective? Because sometimes it's very
Oops.
funny. What, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes it's very interesting. What I thought was different from what she thought.
Hmm.
So we always have two different perspectives, and that's where it clashes. There's miscommunication. So that could resolve. That could be resolved by just telling each other perspective,
Hmm.
and then oh, I see. That's how you think. I didn't know
Yeah.
that, and it was great that you tell me because then I would have holding it for half a year. Then I wouldn't know. And yeah, so I think team dynamics is almost the first thing
Hmm.
to yeah to make it work.
Yeah. And so it is work. People don't see it. Like co-founding roles is definitely a work. Like any other relationship.
It's even a lot more
It-
work because you're under stress
you're
all the
under.
time. You're always like under KPIs. You have to hit it. So I think it's not just sometimes have to balance also both emotional and business. So we can't be too emotional at the same time. We have to think about the company interests.
Yeah.
So it's I think one of the things we did was a scorecard as well. We talk about each other's weaknesses or we say improvements. We don't say weakness. Like we say like strength and
Hmm.
improvement. We write down all the points. This is what we did actually in the early days. Went into a room. We're not very happy in that stage. And then we're trying to say what we're not happy about. We call it the improvement. We say very detailed stuff, very almost personal attack stuff, but it's actually good because then you know it. Then you know it yourself. Oh, did I did this to her?
Yeah.
That's not what I want to do. So you didn't realize what you did to the other sometimes because you're not perfect, right? You always learn as a CEO. You always learn and improve yourself the way you talk and the way you behave and then how to manage a team. Everything is like you need to learn everything from scratch. We actually went through 2 hours just writing down each other's strength and improvements and there are tons of improvements. Mostly we focus on
Yeah.
that. So then we know each other. Oh, okay. Like you can read that book. So there's a book that everyone should really read. It's called Surrounded by Idiots. you see what color you are in, what quadrant you're in, what type of personality, how would you react in what way. And then you can see how do you work together, because there's always going to be conflict the way you work. If you're more outgoing versus someone who's like very quiet,
Mhm.
they work differently. How do you balance that? How do you know that person's weakness and able to compensate that and have understanding on it and change the way you work so that you can make it work together. So there's so many just to realize who you are and what quarter really work
So
like.
know
So we
yourself
do it.
and your team members better so you can see from their perspective and they can see from yours, I guess. Always keeping the North Star as the company, I guess.
Exactly. I think, yeah, we never know about each other's frustrations. So just by understanding how people work, in what quadrant they are, like really make a difference.
And so looking 5 years ahead, like to see Hypertype going, taking the company next. So you have launched, you've got some traction. Pieces so far that where do you want to take Hypertype in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, so it's actually quite, this is our mission, is to make data flow seamlessly across any tools for employees to be able to rely on and share the right information anywhere, anytime. So it's important for us to make sure that the information fetch is accurate no matter where you get the information from. So this is how we can make the AI understand, becoming a human expert of your company. We're making an expert brain that can represent, if you have 10,000 employees in your company, this brain is going to contain everything that 10,000 employees will know.
Mhm.
Essentially, we really see that it's not just going to stay in customer support. So we really see that AI will, we're forming a human expert brain that is not just going to stay in syncing information, getting you the right information, but the next step after that is that it should be able to make decision on its own for your company and maybe present at least
Hmm.
the decisions to you. And so as a human, you get all this different scenario. Yeah, so it's like the Netflix movie called Heart of Stone.
It was not a good movie. I mean, I'm the tech, but yeah.
Yeah. I really like the AI, how it's calculating the way, the routes, the best routes for you to take. It's almost like GPS, right? But in the company sense, which route is the best? Calculate, predict the
Yeah.
scenario. For now, is that we're predicting what people are sending in what scenario. We're predicting the replies. What is the best answer for this customer
Mhm.
case? And we're predicting the next best reply based on the information you have. So I think the next big thing will be like decision making. This is something we're moving towards too. After we get the information, knowing how to fetch the right information, and then the next thing is really using the information in a way that we can help humans to make better decisions.
Interesting. Yeah. Difficult was it to get this off the ground, and what were some of the key challenges?
Yeah, I think I always look at statistics. So I think the biggest challenge of startups not succeeding is because of lack of funding.
Mhm.
So the first day we founded Antler, we tell ourselves after we got Antler investment, it's not going to last. Our product takes R&D and it requires extensive R&D. It's an industry that requires a lot of experimentations. And so we set off to fundraise like on basically day one after we get Antler
Oh,
investment.
wow.
Yeah, and I think this is something that you don't learn from building. You learn after you build the startup, and but I learned from my background is investment banking, so I've seen a lot of startups running out of funds and struggling to get the product out because it's just not enough funding, not because the product's not good enough or the marketing is not good enough. It's more like startup always takes time to pivot or to change things, and there's a lot of experimentations to make it work, but time is essence, of course, but at the same time, money is important to hire the right people.
Hmm.
And we see that talents are important to actually make the company work,
Hmm.
and that requires money. So that is the reason why we fundraised in a very short timeline. After Antler, we got 6 angels, and then uh, we joined Sting, and we got investment from Propel Capital as well as Sting, and we fundraised from Lumina Ventures, and we did it within the first year of, I think, first within the first, I think, 6 to 10 months, we have fundraised like 1 million
On top
euros.
of Antler.
Exactly.
Interesting. Yeah, I think once money hits the bank, yeah, people don't realize how short or how quickly it will run out if you don't pay attention to the see. Absolutely, it does cost money, unfortunately.
Especially, I think also a lot of founders didn't realize before hitting pre-product market fit, it's important to keep the burn rate really low.
Yeah.
Uh, and it is like a lot of founders would think it's a luxury, right? Everyone see the glam of media, but they didn't see that how much work there is to make it work. Yeah, at the back of my mind, yeah, a lot of founders actually reaching out and ask about that part, how hard it is to found a company. I think Antler is only the start,
And
and when
start,
you
yeah.
go outside of Antler, that's when the game starts.
Yeah. In fact, to a certain degree, people accepted to accelerators, this ecosystem, support system, initial bit of money. Yes, you lose equity, like you said earlier, but at least, for a bit, it's almost like get an egg instead of directly being thrown onto the world outside. You have this incubation time where you can kind of mature a little bit and come out and maybe have a lot more fighting chance.
Also, there are lots of tools right now, startup tools. They're really great for Kesso, for employee stock
Hmm.
option. There are many materials right now to understand, are you giving out a lot? Of course, it has to make
Hmm.
sense. But at the same time, it is important to know that this can change. Like you can, it is hard later on. If you give out too much, you might not get it back. But there's always a way to get it back later on. And there's always like flexibility as long as you have good investors on board. I would say the most important thing is if you don't have a good investors that come on board, then don't take them, because it's so important that you have the same vision, same ethics. Basically, good investors is important, and we're very lucky to have them. And just to know that equity can be bought back later. So a lot of big companies do that in the early stage. They even give a lot to developers when they don't have money, because how would you get talents to work for you otherwise at the start? You need to motivate people, you need to give out
Hmm.
equity. And I think this is something that a lot of founders didn't know. They can buy back later on, or there are many ways to do it. Just get the company, execution is key.
Yeah, moving fast. Yeah. How did you get the first customer?
Yeah, I love this question. We launched on Product
Hmm.
Hunt and we won Product of the Day. And there we get like 200 customers, no, 200
Hmm.
users within the first day. And then we have customers right away from there.
Wow.
So we get customers every single day from Product Hunt. But then we learned something. It's not just about getting customers. Then we realized the product was just the data feedback was not completed. There's a lot of technical issues as well. There's the speed of loading is too slow. It's taking 10 seconds to load a reply versus like people are only going to wait for 1 second. So it's a lot of technical problems that we have to solve when the market is still very new,
Hmm.
because we retrieve the data. We're not just generating. It slows down the speed much more than plugging in just OpenAI.
Yeah.
So we have technical challenges there. And then we solve it with the customers. We did have customers that are not happy because we have nobody wants to use a product that is not working or too slow or something like that. We learned not to go too fast at first, just to learn from the customers and iterate fast. And then so you don't burn all the marketing, because there are a lot of feedback you can already get from customers, from the first
Yep.
customer. Then we did a lot of organic marketing. We did LinkedIn posts. I think we have quite a lot of followers on LinkedIn, thousands of followers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice.
And we built a community in product hunts. We didn't really have our own community, but we have a network on our LinkedIn. For some reason, it works. We do some creative videos. We even do Barbie on email productivity. So it's really fun to do that. Do something viral,
Mm.
basically. Um, that reached like 2,000 impressions. And
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
it's like a LinkedIn post. We did some kind of TikTok
Ah.
fire video.
Mm-hmm.
We also done, yeah, for the first customer, like we just did it on Product Hunt.
And so I'm assuming your early customers that you got probably were not paid, right? Or they were paying.
Yeah, they were paying, but we have a very low pricing point back
Ah,
then.
nice.
Yeah, we have super low, like $5 when we first started,
For me or
and unlimited usage. And that's because we couldn't. That's because we just want to get people to
yeah,
use. We don't know how much they're going to use. So there's no point to limit it if you don't know the breaking point of people where they would you can upsell them. So we started off with a lower pricing point first, and also just to see how much they use, and then encourage people to use
yeah.
more, because we do have like very low slow loading speed. So we're trying to get people to generate as much as possible
Mm-hmm.
and see who are generating the highest amount, and see who they are, so we know the sort of, are we hitting our ICP or not. And then we implement a pricing plan after that, when we see statistics, where would people start to generate a lot more when they hit, for example, 45 generations. We saw that that is either they are generating even more or they stop generating. So there's like this breaking point. If they pass this breaking point, then per month, then we know we can charge much higher,
Hmm.
because they really
Hmm.
need it. So that's where we, based on statistics, understand that.
Interesting. So at some point you did reprice it. How tackle the existing users? Were they happy with the new price or you let them be on the old price?
Yeah, obviously we improve our product a
Yeah.
lot. I think we launched new features, we did faster speed, and we have redone the whole onboarding, all these hyperbrain, how it's storing data and everything. Like, we actually improved so much that we hit a point where we have to increase the pricing by 100 to 200%,
Hmm.
because we know the biggest cost today is generation cost.
Yeah.
For every company, it is generating, it's expensive.
Mhm.
So it's like back in the days when we have mobile phones, we call internationally, that will cost a lot of money, but now it's free. So for now, is that is the most expensive thing is generating, and you have to measure the cost. Like, how much would that cost us to generate, to store the data, to sync new data, to actually share the data with their team, and how much data to sync historically. Should we sync 1 year? Should we sync like 10,000 emails? Or what should we do with how much data we should do? Because at some point we saw that we hit a cost of 200K on just data per month. And then we're like, no, we can't do this. This is breaking our unit economics. So we implement something like a limitation on the
Mhm.
usage, and also limit the integrations and how much data we sync for the user. There, we actually lower all the costs down back to just 10,000 per month. That's a huge difference. And then we also optimize, of course, our infrastructure. In this case, is then you measure the cost, how much, not just the cost, but also how much value you're really giving,
Mhm.
and the time savings that they could have. How much would they save if they use Hypertype, for
Mhm.
example? And then you use time value. So we think that this is just a beginning, like $59 for teams per month per seat. It's just a beginning. And we have $19 for solo right now per month per
Hmm.
seat. We also have a free plan for people who just want to try out. And we have 7 day free trial, no matter which plan you're
Hmm.
on. And we see that pricing, if as long as we can deliver value, pricing is not really the concern to be, it's not a problem to raise pricing, and people are happy to pay for it. We actually have people even automatically pay by themselves after onboarding without us onboarding anything, selling anything. It's like product led. But we do sales led on maybe mid-sized company to talk to decision maker, but we mainly do product led for smaller
Hmm.
companies. And yeah, they just pay, refer to maybe four more team members, and then or and they pay together.
Impressive. In you any specific stack item or technology that you've used that has proved immensely useful to accelerate this onboarding?
You mean the onboarding flow
Yeah.
when we first the
So
first?
sign up to actually converting people to pay. Has there been like a tech stack item or a technology that you've used that has, convert better, let's say?
Sure, that's actually something we're still working on. We're not perfect on that. We do have drop off, like huge drop off
Mhm.
still today, but we have improved by 20% since we launched. What we see is that it's best to just cut down the number of processes that people need to fill in or when they first on board. And also, I think there's still a lot of education in Europe how to install Chrome extension. So I highly recommend people to go on YouTube and follow the flywheel that Joe Thomas, the CEO and co-founder of Loom, and how to improve the onboarding process, because there are many things you can focus on, but then you can't do everything at the same
Yeah.
time. It's like a flywheel that start from onboarding to start first generating a response and then to referrals. So it's like the whole wheel that needs to work to spin to make your product growth work. So we've been working on the flywheel over and over again right now, and it's been helping us a lot to improve the metrics. And we're now growing 60% month on month on our nets MRR on average for the past 5 months now. So I think it's been really help us find out what works and what doesn't.
Oh, thanks for sharing. I'll make sure I post the link on the um, of team and talent. And is there any specific role you're looking to hire in like 3 to 6 months that is critical that you're trying to fill?
Yeah, we're not actively hiring. We're six
Mhm.
people. We're still keeping the same team. It's very efficient, actually. You
No,
can
I think
like
this is
you can really accomplish a lot with just a small
that's
team.
if you can do it, this is the time to be lean. I don't think people need to go spending in 2024. If anything, they need to slow down.
Yeah, I think you see a lot of companies trying to cut jobs as
Yep.
well because they saw there are a lot of idle tasks. When you have people, you do need to manage the
You need to
flow.
almost manufacture tasks if they're sitting idle.
Exactly. So we only hire for if there's a
Yeah,
need. If there's no need, we don't hire for that.
makes sense. So you had amazing traction in terms of marketing. You spoke at, I think, Web Summit. Any key lessons to get speaking engagements for other founders? How did you do manage to swing that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a very good question. I think it's important for founders to be able to speak about their thoughts in this industry, in this ever growing industry. Of course, we are in a segment that is very exciting. And so we do get a lot of press coverage from Market, DI, and a lot of Swedish news have featured us. And we were invited to dinners, and then that's where we met a lot of other, that's one part. We met Web Summit, we got invited to the dinner, and we also have a lot of dinner events that we got invited to from a lot of feces as well. And this is a great community. I think this was one part of building successful startup is just to spread the word to anyone, go to, of course, not too many events. We try to limit it. Like we only go to events like once every month. That's what we do. We don't want to waste too much time if there's not a very we don't go to events where we feel like it's not going to contribute much on the value. And I think it's very important to be conscious of your own time as a founder,
Yep.
because you can do so many things, but which thing is the most important? And we get some speaking opportunity, and we only started doing, for example, podcasts like right this month. But if you
Hmm.
don't know who you're targeting, then it's just a waste of money to spend everywhere. We make sure that we didn't spend marketing to everyone at first.
Hmm.
So we actually started on organic first to see who's using more. Then we do more organic, some paid marketing to see whether it works, like content marketing, newsletter, to see where the AI adopters are and the customer support teams. And that's where we like started to take off. And of course, our retention of the product is very important, not just marketing, but also you have to look into whether your product is sustainable, whether it's really delivering value, because then you might want to put a stop if people are maybe leaving your product
Coming
because
in one way and getting out the other.
exactly. And it's so important just to pause on marketing if you see this is a
Yeah.
trend, which we had in between April and July last year. So then when we fixed that, we saw people are staying for a long time, like 103% retention. That's what we have in our revenue, even after ten months after launch. So we see that once we stabilize the product, once we also deliver value, do more data integration, then we started paid marketing, because that's where we see people are staying with our products and people love our product. We're getting positive response. And we use also customer reference to reach out to some similar type of companies. Now we're starting to do outbound because we know what companies need Hypertype right now. And yeah, meet, go to events that where your customers are, basically.
Yeah. So keep it lean and mean until you figured out. Go to a lot of dinners and parties.
I wouldn't say that's the that's the goal. I think we only did three. We did two events. We did only a few events,
Yeah.
like
No,
two.
I think you hit the nail right there. A lot of times, and I've seen this and I've done that in the past as well. As a founder, you go into this event mode where you just keep like just going to event after event. I think you need to have a balance and you need to evaluate what event.
Yeah,
Yeah, could
we,
it
we
right?
actually have an aim is we never pay for events. We
Hmm.
only go to events if we got invited to, like either speaker events. I think it's important that not just time but cost. And
Yep.
every time, and the whole day is, maybe we don't go the whole day either. I think like going to events, you need to be smart. Like maybe maybe you don't need to stay there for the whole day. Like you can go there for 1 hour and see whether it's good or not. And then, or is the event helping you to mass, like spread the word in to everyone or not? Then is it worth going? And events is actually not where we generate leads, to be honest. Yeah, we actually only go there to generate more word of mouth,
Hmm.
but leads actually come in through search. And we don't have a way to track it, but we the best thing is to have a mix of marketing, but you don't need to spend a lot of money. And the best thing is not to do paid at first, is to reach out your network. After your network, you know who your ICP, your customers, you need to make the onboarding better,
Hmm.
because maybe people are struggling to even start using your product. Then you have to improve that before more marketing. So always have like balance, and have a lot of experiments of what works, what doesn't, because speed is essence. There's no secret formula to, like my last startup didn't even, we weren't running the same marketing, but my last startup can still go to 30 countries and without organically with SEO. So it's a different strategy for every single company depending on who you're targeting to. Does your tech work? Like, is your onboarding good? The other one is, are people staying in your product? And then is it worth spending money right now? Have you found the ICP that you should target? If yes, then you should definitely go for it. But it's just trying all the ways you can as fast as possible. Then you find something that is taking off.
Oh, good advice. So much for taking the time. It was lovely talking, and um, yeah, thanks for your time and being on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I think it's great. Hopefully, learn from other founders as well.
Thank you so much for listening. If you found this valuable, you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. See you in the next episode.